Necromancer era. So says several think pieces that have come across my For You page. So let's talk about it. Good morning, lovelies. This is not my typical YouTube video. Normally, I just post compilations of my TikTok series, CaFae Latte, but variety 'tis the spice of life, and I've been seeing this end of the influencer era theme everywhere. What type of content creator would I be if I didn't jump on the bandwagon? Before we dive in, I want to clarify something real quick. It's more of a just making sure we're getting our definitions and terms right. Content creators and influencers are not the same thing. Content creators are people who create online content, most commonly TikToks, Instagram posts, YouTube videos, but could also be blogs, newsletters, articles, Twitter stories, whatever. Technically, anyone and everyone who has ever posted anything online is a content creator. But there's definitely a difference between everyday amateurs sharing vacation selfies and professionals who make money off of it, usually through some sort of ad revenue. It's like everything in life. You got amateur musicians and artists and writers and professionals. Content creator is a huge umbrella. It's like when someone says they're a scientist. Like, okay, what type of science? What branch of study? What specifically do you do? Are you analyzing Petri dishes in a lab? Are you hiking through the Canadian wilderness, documenting the behavior of wild wolves? Are you helping museums properly display their goodies and educate the masses? You gotta narrow it down. And in this instance, we will. Influencers are a specific type of content creator. Their job is to convince or influence you to purchase a specific product, often one given to them for free by a company or brand. They tend to get a commission based on how many people view the video or use their promo code, and that's how they make the bills. This is not to be confused with content creators who, say, just have sponsored videos, essentially ads built into the videos. While those content creators are paid by the sponsoring company, the ad is only a very small part of the video, and they're often paid a lump sum up front with maybe a commission tacked on. So they don't really care all that much about sales. If the vast majority of a single video is dedicated to a specific brand, product, or service, that is an influencer video. And if that's most of the videos you make, you're an influencer. If only like 5 to 15% of the video's runtime is dedicated to an ad, then that's just a sponsored video. And the creators of those videos are not considered influencers because the main purpose of their video is not to influence you to buy a thing, it's to educate or entertain or whatever. It's a gray area, I know, but that tends to be where the line is drawn. You could argue that I am an influencer because I want people to purchase my books and my merch, which that's fair, but there are two problems with that. Number one, influencers are defined as being paid or rewarded by a third-party company to sell that company's stuff. They're a middleman, a matchmaker. I don't have a third-party company. It's just me and my stuff. And number two, the vast majority of the content I create, most notably the CaFae Latte skits, they never try to sell the audience anything, even my own stuff. The number of videos, short and long form, that I've published whose sole purpose is to influence you to purchase something, it's pretty low, probably a single-digit percentage. Sales are very much a side gig for me. They're not the centerpiece. They don't pay my bills. It's for this reason that when asked what I do for a living, I describe myself as an author and content creator, not an influencer. Although I did try way back in the early days of my career. We'll talk about that later. And yet, despite my career path and my exposure to influencers and other types of content creators, I am coming at this from something of an outsider angle because as a viewer, I rarely, if ever, engage in influencer content at all, even if it is for a hobby that I actively enjoy, like books and fiber crafts. I've never seen the point. That content is not educational, it's not funny, it's rarely entertaining. It's just never been for me. I find it boring, so I skip it. And yet, an attempt must be made. And this whole bursting the influencer bubble thing has been rippling across the entire internet for a while now, to the point where I think everyone's starting to see it or sense it. And look, I'm not an economist at all. That'd be my dad. But I think that has or will have at least some impact on everyone's overall financial situation if an entire industry just kind of goes. It's worth talking about and keeping an eye on. So even before this year, people were already getting pretty fed up with influencers. I remember seeing online discourse during and immediately after the pandemic, right before I started doing this full time, where people asked, what is the most useless career ever? And one of the most popular answers was influencer. And it's easy to see why people think that. Influencers, they don't create the products they're trying to sell. You can't even trust them to give an honest review because they have such a strong conflict of interest. They are, at the end of the day, digital salespeople. And very few people have a positive opinion of any type of sales rep. I know, I worked in sales for about 5 years, and I was damn good at it. Look, still, it remains one of the most sought-after careers among Gen Alphas and younger. My brother, who works as a student counselor at a middle school, has repeatedly talked about how many of his kids want to be an influencer when they grow up. And of course they do. Like, they're all chronically online. Some of you watching this video are probably Gen Alpha or younger. Hi, I'm 30. And this means that they see several influencers a day. They see the luxury items, the hundreds of dollars spent on massive hauls, the popularity, every sign of which points to financial and cultural success. But for those of us old enough to worry about things like rent, mortgage, and/or groceries, maybe even kids, there's a different growing attitude of resentment. And this is being reflected in the analytics of those influencers when they go to see how many people are viewing their videos or commenting or all that stuff. When content creators do this professionally full time, we're very in tune with the analytics. And many influencers have been complaining about theirs recently. Nobody wants to watch my videos anymore. Nobody's engaged with my content anymore. Where are you all at? A lot of them blame a change in the algorithm, but frankly, the problem is much bigger than that. Like many cultural phenomena, the decline of influencers has multiple causes. I have spotted 5. Less trust from the general public, less money from brand deals, and oversaturation of ads in public spaces, particularly the internet, a disconnect between audience and creator, and the shitstorm that is the current state of American politics. Let's get into it. All right, so let's start with less trust from the general public. To understand what's going on now, we have to ask, why are influencers even a thing? How did this start? This is probably not how my history professor thought that I would use my degree. Well, every good salesperson and marketeer worth their salt knows that the best way to convince someone to purchase your product is not through copious ads or a catchy slogan or even massive discounts. It's word of mouth. More specifically, it is having the customer's trusted friends and family tell them, this product is so good, you should get it. Now, I have not personally met most of you watching this video, but while we are not necessarily friends or family, we do have something called a parasocial relationship. These are one-sided relationships most often seen among public figures like celebrities, politicians, and influencers. Like last year when I was Christmas shopping at the mall with my roommates, I was talking to them and a total stranger heard my voice walking the other way. And they're like, oh my gosh, are you the CaFae Latte girl? And I'm like, yeah, hi. I have no idea who that person was, but they knew exactly who I was. That's a parasocial relationship. So even though you and I have never met, there is a level of trust that audiences have with public figures that they have positive parasocial relationships with. I really need to stop calling myself a public figure. I don't think I'm famous enough for that. My roommate calls me a micro celebrity. I should just use that more often. But it is because of that trust that you and I sort of have that if I say this product is great, you should get it, you are, statistically speaking, much more likely to purchase it than if you heard that same message from the YouTube ad at the start of this video. And 5, 10, 15 years ago, that likelihood was much higher. As the internet evolved, YouTube gained ground and people spent more and more time online, companies and brands took notice, particularly of the internet celebrities who were amassing trusted followers and regular viewers, like actual celebrities with the millions of subscribers. So these brands and companies thought, hey, instead of paying thousands or even millions of dollars to a television network for a 30-second ad most people will ignore, let's pay this one guy a few $100s to hype us up. This worked phenomenally. Companies got to spend less money for just as many sales that they would have gotten with that TV commercial. Sponsored videos became a thing, and as the content creators got more popular and were in more demand, they could negotiate a higher price, giving them more money, more financial stability, and downright luxurious lifestyles. And among these types of content creators came the influencer, the type of content creator who solely focused on reviewing or selling specific products in their sphere: makeup, clothing, tech, whatever. They would get started with videos like cheapest makeup looks or comparing a makeup look that's worth $10 versus $100. And then as they gained more followers, brands gave them more money to promote their specific stuff. And then they just shifted into that type of content full time, doing more and more influencer videos rather than, say, educational videos, like how to do a specific makeup look. If it is how to do a specific makeup look, then it's how to do a specific makeup look with this specific brand's products. But herein lies the problem. Everyone started doing this. The amount of influencers, professional and otherwise, skyrocketed while the quality and reputability of the products they were pitching went down. And thus, that hard-earned trust between creator and audience started chipping away. I don't have to tell you this. We all have at least one instance of purchasing something online because an influencer said it was cool and it turned out to be trash. This is, I think, a major reason why our patience with influencers is so thin. They're no longer a handful of ultra popular content creators picking and choosing the best products and deals to pitch to their audience. It's someone who still lives in their parents' basement trying to get you to buy leggings that'll rip the first time you put them on. And the lack of trust, by the way, isn't just on the influencers. We've seen several online brands in just the last couple of years that turn out to be total scams. Honey was the most explosive, but I've heard a lot of shady things about BetterHelp, and yet they're still being advertised everywhere, both in ads and sponsorships. The internet is the Wild West. We've all learned the hard way that we have to be careful with who we trust. Point number 2, less money from brand deals. As I mentioned, at the beginning and height of the influencer era, content creators could demand big paychecks from companies who wanted them to promote their stuff. Unfortunately, influencers are now victims of the very laws of supply and demand that they initially benefited from. Because instead of a handful of big-name content creators, companies now have their pick of thousands of influencers and wannabe influencers. And thus, the bargaining power goes to the companies and brands rather than the content creators and influencers. It is because of this, the fact that supply is so high and so many newbie creators are so desperate to break into the market because they want to be a full-time influencer so bad, a lot of companies don't even pay them anymore. They don't have to. Most of the time, especially if you're a smaller creator, you don't get money. You just get 1 or 2 samples of the free product, and only that because it makes for a better video if you have the physical product in your hand to use and show off. Sure, you could then turn around and sell that product on eBay, but even if you do get bids, how much profit can you make off of a few pairs of leggings and a coffee maker? In order to make enough to pay even the cheapest of bills, you'd have to do that constantly. Multiple products every month, if not every week, and that's after making videos about them. Which brings us to our next point. Number 3, an oversaturation of ads in public spaces, particularly the internet. There have been multiple studies done showing just how many ads the average American is subjected to every day. That number is always in the hundreds. We are constantly being sold things. Buy this, subscribe to that. It's got to the point where we have to fork over money every month to enjoy content without commercials, an ad blocker, but that only gives a small respite. As soon as you click to a different website or turn on the TV, boom, more ads. But even with those subscriptions, sometimes the ad blocker really just doesn't work, or the companies will just pay the platform more money to show you premium ads. Get the fuck out of here. It's now a growing problem on TikTok. If you go through 10 videos on your For You page, chances are good that a third to half of them are either a straight up ad or a sponsored influencer video. And people are sick of it. We are especially sick of it encroaching on places where we just want content. I don't open TikTok or Instagram to see ads or product reviews. I open those apps to see fast cuts of artists painting on canvas, the We Rate Dogs guy giving us his top 10 dogs of the week, world news, House Bells and other skits, and maybe a book talker sharing their thoughts on their latest read. Honest thoughts, no affiliate links or anything. And yet, creators like me are constantly fighting for space on an app that is determined to show its audience as many ads as possible so that it can get the most money from companies that are paying them to show these ads. Like we talked about in the last point, influencers are making as many videos as possible because they need as many people to use their promo code to get paid. Sure, the ones with enough subscribers and watch hours also get ad revenue, but that's only one stream of cash. You need multiple income streams to be a content creator full time. My biggest are TikTok, YouTube, and Patreon, with an occasional unpredictable bump from merch, advance payments from publishers, and book royalties. But an influencer's primary sources of income tend to be sponsorships and affiliate programs. Thus, one of their biggest financial pillars, if not their only pillar, is sales, which means they need to make as much sales content as possible, thus contributing to ad fatigue. Number 4, a disconnect between audience and creator. Now this is more of a case-by-case basis, individual problem, but it is something we're seeing more and more of, so it's worth talking about. Most content creators start out very humble. All right, we're making content in our basements, in our parents' guest bedroom, in our little 2-bedroom apartment that we share with 2 other people. Most creators have a separate full-time job that actually pays the bills because nobody pays content creators when they only have a dozen followers and 2 videos. The paychecks don't come until you have 1,000 or 10,000 followers. The exact number depends on the platform, and sometimes the platform also wants you to have a certain number of watch hours, which can take even more time. And even then, those first paychecks are pittance. My first payments from TikTok were $10 to $30 a month. You cannot live off of that. And YouTube doesn't pay you until you earn a minimum of $100 cumulatively. So I only got about 3 or 4 of those checks my first year when I was monetized on this platform, which took 4 to 5 years just to get to that point. It took me 2 years on TikTok, 6 on YouTube, and 8 publishing, using a different pseudonym, to get to the point where I could quit my job at the deli and do this type of thing full time. 8 years. And that, the quitting my full-time job, is one of the most dangerous things a content creator can do. And I don't mean the obvious, if your views drop, if the platform goes down, if you get canceled, you're financially bummed. All of that is true. What I'm talking about here is that full-time content creators are at higher risk of losing touch with the rest of the world. The vast majority of people are not content creators. They work regular 9-to-5s, maybe 2 or even 3 jobs. Far more people know what it's like to be unemployed than how to create a content calendar. One of the main reasons people follow influencers who are just starting out is because of their relatability. They see this creator dealing with a problem that they themselves have dealt with or are dealing with, and that creator solves it with, some product or service that's within the general population's price range. Or they're dramatizing a silly story about an obnoxious Karen or a bitchy manager that a lot of other people have also dealt with. But once that creator quits their 9-to-5 and gets their paycheck through online content, once they stop having to deal with the Karens and the bitchy managers, a lot of them end up losing their relatability. Their lives change and evolve to fit their new career, which that is fine and natural, all right? Predictable even. Mine sure has. I've gone from filming in my tiny little corner of the apartment, carefully timing those filming sessions for when one or both roommates are out, to renting a whole office space a couple of times a month whenever I want. But this also means that the content changes, either subtly or obviously. And you have to be very careful when that happens. Many of you who regularly watch my CaFae Latte content may have noticed that there are a lot fewer skits revolving around bad customers nowadays compared to when the series first got started. That's because I stopped working food service, and thus I've had fewer run-ins with rotten customers. Art reflects reality, guys. Now, I am lucky in that I can pivot pretty naturally to more supernatural arcs. Frankly, it's a net gain because I've always been way more interested in the magic and adventure than the slice of life stuff. It's more fun for me to do the whole Bob's backstory as this fairy princess who betrayed her people for the good of humanity, or, Raythu's whole thing, Eric's whole thing. That is so much more interesting to me than, fairies cursing carrots, even though that's how I made my bones. The supernatural stuff is just more fun for me, and hopefully for you too. But this doesn't always happen. And this problem is compounded by the effect of money. Now, many influencers quit their day jobs because they're getting enough money from their content and brand deals. Yay, good for them. A very lucky few get enough that they're living in literal luxury. That's awesome. Get that bag. But also, the living in luxury part at least, it's not really relatable. Most of us aren't living in luxury. Most of us have real financial problems right now. And with the growing divide between the classes, instead of aspiration or awe, these videos of influencers showing off these massive makeup or clothing hauls in their fancy houses or downtown lofts are inspiring resentment and annoyance. This is especially true for influencers with humble beginnings. After all, if they started their brand with cheapest ways to make clothes or how to write a novel when you're working 2 jobs, why would the audience interested in those videos have any interest in the new videos about judging the Met Gala outfits or here's my massive library of books that I haven't even read? Thus, a fatal disconnect between audience and creator. Disconnection can have a lot of causes. Sometimes they're more gradual, like what we just discussed, and sometimes they are sudden, like when your favorite author turns out to be a TERF or a sexual predator. It's a death blow to a content creator's career. Now, while some can and do pivot, reviving their careers at least a little, a lot of them never fully recover, and they have to go back to the traditional job force. And finally, the shitstorm that is the current state of the American economy. Influencers are salespeople. Their whole job is to get you to spend your money. The problem is, nobody has any money to spend. Inflation's up, cost of living is up, wages are down. People can barely afford groceries, and we're supposed to spend some of our hard-earned, precious cash on luxury candy or special pens or makeup. This, I think, is the final nail in the influencer coffin. While people had disposable income, influencers could at least survive, if not thrive. Now that we don't, it doesn't matter how many videos you make or how good those videos are. People cannot spend money they don't have. And yeah, it sucks. This sucks for everyone. For me personally, I am blessed that the current economic hardship is not hitting me as hard. And that's probably because 2/3 of my income come from views. I don't need you to spend any money to make my own. Just you watching this video will help me pay my rent. It is remarkably stress-free, at least comparatively speaking. My views go down and fucked. But that's the trick. I think we're going to see a lot of influencers, particularly the savvy ones, pivot and try to create content that does not require the audience to whip out their credit cards, which will probably be a relief because it'll decrease the amount of ads we see. Now, I tried the influencer thing back in the day, and I hated it. Even when I was able to fold the products and pitches into my CaFae Latte videos, which, let's face it, those were the only videos that got the kind of views that I needed to make more than 5 books from these companies, it felt wrong. The sponsored influencer videos that I did, a pair of leggings, a flashlight, the text-to-speech app, a coffee maker that my roommates still haven't used, they were all commercials. And sure, a good commercial is also a story, but it's not the type of story I want to tell. And the companies that I was doing these videos for could be very grabby and suffocating. Now, the leggings, the flashlight people, and the coffee maker people, they were fine, as are Divergent Realms, who I currently work with. But the app folks wanted to control every aspect of the video. They gave me very limited creative freedom, which creativity is the whole reason why I do this. Without creative freedom, what's the point? You make the fucking ad if you wanted to say every single word in this way, and like, no, you do it. You've got the script, go for it. Those experiences and my own feelings on the matter are a large part of why I personally don't do influencer content. The only reason that I accept Divergent Realms sponsorship is because 2 of my contract workers work for them as GMs, and they explicitly asked me to. It's a product that I genuinely think that my audience would at least be interested in, as a lot of you are neurodivergent geeks who love role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons. I have almost complete creative freedom in how I promote this product, and I only have to do about 1 influencer video a month, maybe less. Since 99% of my CaFae videos are still full creative skits with no ulterior motives, I'm not contributing to ad fatigue, or worse, causing it in my own audience. Thanks to my other income streams, I don't need sponsorships or affiliate marketing links to pay my bills. Frankly, what Divergent Realms pays me is maybe 2% of what I make in a month. In my personal and professional opinion, this is the best attitude for an influencer or any type of sales rep to have. Nothing kills a sale faster than desperation. Pity marketing rarely ever works, and only for the short term. Now look, don't get me wrong. I like the people who work at Divergent Realms, and I want to see this company succeed, but I don't need those sales. I don't need my fans to use the promo code Omanji20 for 20% off on their membership. I don't need them to rush over to divergentrealms.com to play the official CaFae Latte role-playing game. I'd like it if that happened, but I don't need it. I'm not desperate for it. It's not necessary for me, which is why I am not bombarding you all over the head with incessant ads. All I'm doing is occasionally letting you know that, hey, this thing exists. As soon as that stops working, I terminate my contract with Divergent Realms and we go our separate ways. Having said that, I do have a Kickstarter planned for February for my upcoming novel, Monstrous. So you're gonna see some advertisement for that, especially over on TikTok. And despite the state of everything, I am expecting that Kickstarter to succeed because a lot of people do still want to purchase from their favorite brands. And given the chance, they will. Bookworms want to own their favorite author's book. Fashionistas want to expand their closets. Gamers will save up and spend on the latest, coolest games or tech upgrades. We don't need to be told to buy something from some stranger on the internet. If we want it or need it, we'll get it. That's all I got. Regular CaFae Latte season should resume next week, and I should have links to both Divergent Rounds and the upcoming Monstrous Kickstarter in the description of this video. So if either of those are of interest to you, go check it out. If not, I won't cry about it. Bye, lovelies.
In a field where angels sing, fairy dust and golden rings, queens of old with strength from within, rise above with a gentle spin. Through the war with hearts they fight, wings like steel in soft moonlight, farm whispers, stories untold, legends woven from threads of gold. Rise up, queen, in the night so bright, carry on through dawn's soft light, with a whisper, fierce and kind, lead the way, free your mind. Women tall like angels They said we'd fade, but we are storms that the heavens made. Our blood runs fire, our dreams won't die. We touch the edge of the infinite sky. Through the dark, we find our way. Turn the night into endless day. Rise up, we're breaking through the stars. Human spirit, burning like quasars. Rise up, they'll never see us fall. One small voice, but it echoes through